Hello everybody, welcome back. It is me, your old pal Orpheus, with another adventure here on Orpheus Plays. I don't know, I'm in a goofy mood again. Hey, how you doing? It's good to see you. Good to see you again here on the channel. We are playing Blade and Sorcery again today, and we are in survival mode, and I have a good story for you. I have kept this secret for quite a while to a lot of people, actually, and it is... I was a government agent at one point in my life. Yes, I know. Some of you are like, what? The others out there are like, I knew it. Anyway, we'll get to that in just a minute. I hope you're doing well wherever you are today, whether it is day or night. That doesn't matter to me as long as you're hanging out. Let's see what we got for our selections here. This is, of course, survival mode. 3 things come out. I choose one and make everybody very sad when they come out those gates. We have a very rusty executioner's sword, a pitchfork, and a hammer. Now, do not underestimate the wooden mallet. This is truly an overpowered weapon. I'm going to turn up the sound on my headset. I want to hear all this smashing. Let's get things kicked off with our first traditional slow motion kill of the day. Ultra slow motion. And a little uppercut here. Oh, let's give a little spin. Is he dead? He's dead. And with that out of the way, let's get to today's topic. Okay, so like I said, this is something I really don't talk about with a lot of people. Like, even people I really know well, I never bring it up because it's something that, like, I don't know. I mean, people get a little intimidated, you know? It's one of those, you know, that mesh keeps showing up and I am nowhere near my boundary. Anyway, so I don't really bring it up with anybody because it's not something, you know, people get like, oh, you're a government agent at some point. And then, like, at everything from that point on, they're kind of skeptical of talking to you about anything. Excuse me. Some of the people that I've told this to, and it's been like a really, like, honestly, not a lot of people. Like, maybe 4 people in my entire life I've told about this. And all of them acted a little weird afterwards. Not one of them. One of them was Mrs. Orpheus, and she knows all about this. Well, not everything. Did you just zap yourself? Nice. Anyway, so Mrs. Orpheus knows about this. Maybe not to the extent of what I'm going to tell you about today. So let me get going with the story. When I was, well, this was in the year 2000. In the year 2000, yeah, it was back then. So we're talking at the time of recording 25 years, and every 10 years, the United States of America, this is if you're a foreign viewer or you didn't really know this in general, every 10 years here in the United States, we do a census. So we count everybody, right? So we send out all these forms and everything. You know what? Maybe I should start a little earlier than that. Okay. So I'd been looking for a job, and someone gave me a lead on a job, and it was for an agency that provides employees to certain, you know, companies and organizations and things like that. And so if you put in a resume with these people, shovel, nice. They will kind of, like, you know, match you to the jobs. It's basically a job finder. Like, today you have websites for it. Back then, you kind of really didn't, and if you did, they sucked. Anyway, so it's kind of like a job recruiter or something like that, except it was just, you know, slightly different. Because what they would do is they would advocate for you and get you a job and all that stuff. All you had to do was show up for the interview, and you basically got it. So I filled out a form. Actually, it was a lot of forms. I filled out a lot of forms. I ended up doing some little testing and stuff that they had, and I got a phone call about a week later, and they said, you know, we've looked at all your stuff, and you have some very unique talents. And I said, you know, I guess. And apparently I had some training in my life that would be pertinent to working as an agent. You know, I mean, it's hard to explain. Anyway, so I have certain skills, you know what I mean? Like, I had developed some stuff, had a lot of training and everything, and I'm not going to tell you what, but it pertained to what I was, you know, supposed to be doing, right? So, got a phone call about a week later, and it was them saying, we need you for a job. Are you up to anything? Wow, shovel. Wow. Anyway, so yeah, you know what's the job? Oh, well, we can't discuss it over the phone. You got to come by and we'll tell you what it is. It's like, okay, well, this is a little weird. So I drive to this office, and it's this agency. Ooh, a sign. Wow, we got sign now. Okay. I haven't seen these in a while. But, so I went to this building. I go in there, and it's all rather serious, right? They have to take my ID at the front desk. They have to let me through security checkpoints and stuff. Oh, no. And it was generally kind of a tense atmosphere, right? And so I go in there, and this very nice woman, she says, we looked over. Why is that mesh still showing up? Oh, anyway. So she's like, we've looked at everything. We think you'd be perfect for this job. I said, okay, so what is it? I said, well, we need people to work as agents in order to assure proper... Oh, no. In order to assure proper practices and, you have to observe people. It was kind of like a surveillance kind of job, but I'll explain that in a second. And it was, paid really well, paid training. I got like a week of paid training and stuff. And it paid really well. Anyway, so I took this job, but it was a temporary job. It was one that was about 6 months, okay? And what was going on? Did I just grab that wagon? Nice. Anyway, so what was going on is what I was started to talk about first, which is every 10 years, the United States... Oh, nice shot. Anyway, the United States is required by law to do a census. So we send out forms to everybody. The government sends out these forms to every single household in the United States. Quite literally every single household, okay? And there are 2 types of forms. You know what? I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, so they've got the census they have to do every 10 years, which means that they have to have people available not only to, help answer the phones and answer questions and do all that stuff, but you also need people to call households that haven't filled it out, okay? You also have agents that, well, they're not agents, they're just, they're workers. Go out onto the street, and they will go physically to people's houses to get the information at a certain point. And again, we'll get to that. So, wow, took a good shot to the head there, though. Anyway, so what we do is, so we have census agents. Well, they're not agents. Telephone agents is what they were. But don't worry, I'm not like clickbaiting you on me being one of those. Okay, this is genuine. I actually was a government agent. Now, just chill out. Okay, so we had all these people. They were telephone help support people. I'll call them that. And which is actually what they were. They were telephone support people, and they would answer the phones to answer questions and take some information if people wanted to do it over the phone. Now, back to what I was saying. There are 2 types of forms for the U.S. Census. Bam, gotcha. There is a long form, which is the one that's like 7 pages. Like, no, it's more like 12 pages long. And it's like every detail about your family. And it's like, what time do you leave to go to work in the morning? Yes, it gets that specific. It's stuff like that, How long is your drive? How many appliances do you have? And it's oddly specific, but it's also there for a reason. So we can get data and statistics to base most of our economy and our congressional districts. And there's all sorts of important reasons that they have to do this every 10 years. What the hell just happened there? But every 10 years you have to do this in order to decide what kind of money goes where and what kind of benefits go where, and it tells you information. It's demographic information, the basic stuff the world lives, by. You're doing it online right now. You're giving demographic information to YouTube. Anyway, so you have the long form, which is, admittedly, it's kind of a pain in the ass. And then you have the short form, which is like, 2 pages long. It's basically a pamphlet that says, how many people are in your house. What's your household income? You know, the really basic stuff that they can get just, you know, the basic amount of information for. Come here. There you go. And so that's the easy one. And it's kind of like maybe like a 30% ratio. I forget the exact ratio of like what it was. Dude. Of what it was of people, the long form compared to the short form. But it was like 30% of people had to do the long one or something like that. And so what there were is these telephone support people that would be on the phones, and they would get phone calls from people that either had questions about the form, okay? So they have, like, you know, an issue with figuring out what something meant, which, I mean, they're written for, like, middle schoolers, basically. So you would be surprised how much work these telephone support people had. It was just silly. The phones were nonstop. But I mean, again, we're doing this for the entire United States at the time. So, you know, of course, the phones are going to be busy, right? So what we do is take the phone calls, and you get them. What's going on? There we go. And you answer those questions. But those telephone support people can also, for people that, you know, want to get it done easier without filling all the stuff. Now it's easier for them because they have the long form almost every single time when they call in to have us fill out the form for them. And so we have to ask them, well, they had to ask them every single question on that form. They had it on the computer. It was a click-through thing, so there was software that was written for it where you just click buttons and read what's on the screen. Really, really simple stuff, okay? On both sides. So some of the questions that we got were absolutely ridiculous. They were stuff like, you know, how many people are in your house? And we get a phone call that says, I got a question about that. I have 3 dogs. Do I count them? Now, if you think that that's a one-off, ha-ha-ha, single anecdote, we got like 50 calls a day about, that's I'm being conservative. We got more like 500 calls a day. People asking if their pets should be included in the census. I get it, but no. You know? And then you get the people that flat out deny it, right? They will call you and tell you they'll fill out the basic information, but they're not, that's all they're going to do. And you get these people that they were like alpha versions or beta versions of, and I don't mean beta like, you know, we use it now. I mean, like, testing version of sovereign citizens back then. They were the ones that were like, I am not going to give you any of this information. I don't care. Well, the thing that sucks about it is participation is mandatory in the census. Now, if you haven't gotten one, that doesn't mean that you don't have to fill it out when you do, okay? Oh, no. I think I got the zappies from his staff. Oh, I did. Oh, man. Give me 1 second. Oh, no, that's not what I meant. I have to restart the game when I get blasted with a lightning thing. Because it just makes me all zappy for about 5 minutes. Anyway, so it's compulsory. If you get the long form or the short form, you are required by U.S. law, under penalty of fines and jail time, that you have to fill it out, okay? So a lot of that was fighting with people about filling it out. So they would go, I'm going to tell you my the household income, and I'm going to tell you the number of people in my house, and that's it. And it's like, dude, that's like question number 1 and 2 out of like 500, and we have to do the rest. No, right? And so the way we filled the call center for people with those agents, those telephone support people, was through a temp agency. And so, if you've ever worked with a temp agency or had a business that has worked with a temp agency, you will know that sometimes the quality of your employees is not going to be great. Okay, you're not going to have the best people all the time working for you. These are people that come in and they go, "Do I really have to have a high school diploma to go work at a place crunching numbers?" Yes, you do, bro. You know, like, seriously? So they don't really do do the strictest of background checks. They don't do a lot of, it's a temp agency. It's an employment agency. They just gather people up and spit them at different projects, right? So we got, a lot of bad apples in that mix. And so there are people that will, when faced with conflict or challenge, they will respond in kind. They will start ramping up and escalating things. So you would have some people that would, you get someone that would call and go, there is no way in hell I'm filling out this. Go F yourself. And the telephone response person would be like, no, you go F yourself. Right? Okay, so let's get to my job. All right, so what I was trained to do, I had a master computer, and it was my job to make sure that the telephone support people were not doing anything wrong, all right? So not only was my job, so what I would do is I had my headset. Everyone had a headset that they used for it. Donk. And so I had my headset on, I had special software and a really big screen, and then another really big screen, and I could bring up on one screen every single call that was coming in at any given time. The name and, cubicle location of every single employee that was taking the phone calls, how long the calls were going on, the difficulty with going on. You could tell from like the delays or whatever if people were having issues. Okay. So what I would do is I would go in there, I would click on a phone call, and I would listen to it, but I would also bring up the person's screen. Now these computers, they were locked, like, to not be able to do anything, but I mean, we're talking like Windows what, ME or something back then? Most places were still using like Windows 95. So they were able to get past some of them. Some of them were able to get past like the regular software, and so they would be playing like Minesweeper and shit on their computers in between phone calls. No. Your time is on the U.S. government's dime, bro. You are required to not play Minesweeper, basically. Right? There you go. Anyway, so I would not only, it was a mirror of their screen, right? It's so like if you do screen mirroring for whatever app or something where you can see your PC from somewhere else. Gotcha. Now, that's basically what it was. So I would bring up their phone call, I could bring up their screen, and it would like literally show me the mouse and everything. It would also show me the pressing on the keyboard. Whether or not they hit return, I would see what they were typing. And you think, well, why is that significant? You would be absolutely floored to know how many people would be on a phone call with somebody and they'd be it's like the equivalent of doodling, right? They'd be on the keyboard typing stuff like, I effing hate this guy, he's so stupid, screw this job, screw these people, I can't believe another dumbass just... So they'd use it as like a diary that they never did anything with. They would just delete it after the phone call. It was just this stream of consciousness of how much they hated a person. Anyway, so they would go and have to do these phone calls, but they would often abuse the privilege because you are working as a representative of the U.S. government. You are the arm that reaches out to people to tell them, okay, so that's phase 2. I'll get to that in a second. So you are the representative. People call in, they got questions, or they want to fill out their form. That's your job. Don't do anything else. You have responsibilities to something that is federally mandated every 10 years. Don't F around with this, right? Okay, so my job was basically, it was surveillance. I had to monitor every single one of the people in my group. Okay, now why is this government agent stuff? Well, in order to do that surveillance, it's kind of a wiretapping issue and a privacy issue. So I had to be certified as a government agent under contract with the U.S. Census Bureau, and that was my thing. But it wasn't just taking the phone calls and seeing what people were doing. It wasn't just, quality control. All right? I also had I also had the unpleasant task of stepping in on phone calls when people were getting nasty. Either one, whether the telephone support person or the person that called in. And, you know, it would be my job to step in if I was seeing something weird going on. I got eerily good at that because I could bring up 10, 12 screens at the same time and see what was going on. So I could step in and take over for a phone call. However, the other part I had to be certified for was in case there were difficult people that were refusing, absolutely refusing by the end of the phone call to give any further information than basics, and they had that long form, it was then my job to find out who they were, where they were, what they worked for, what they did, and it wasn't so I could fill out the form for them. Oh, no. That's where Phase 2 of the Census program came in. Phase 2 was the difficult people get a call back. And that call back is where we get a little bit more aggressive, right? But you got to track some of these people down. Back then, cell phones were a thing, but they sucked, all right? Everyone kind of had a phone that you could find what their phone number was, but a lot of people were trying to be difficult, and so part of my job was to track down some of these people, all right? And then I would hand off their number and their basic information to one of my telephone people, and they would oh, no, you got one of those staffs. It's off. Get out of here. Get out of here. There you go. Anyway, I had to hand off that information in order for the person to approach someone with more knowledge of who they were dealing with. Well, then there's Phase 3. Now, Phase 2 was tough, where you had to go through and you had to, call these people at their home. And we gave no shits about what time it was. We worked till 8 o'clock at night, so at least in that phase. And so we didn't give a shit. All these people were like, "You're disturbing my dinner." Well, we don't care because we're the U.S. government, sir. You are compelled to speak to us at this time, right? Nice try. And so, you can imagine people get a little upset. Okay, then Phase 3 is the people who are more difficult than Phase 2, which requires a visit to their home. That's where part of my job got a little bit more crucial, because I had to figure out the kind of person they were by their available information, no matter what that available information was. I would call police departments sometimes. I would look up articles on the web, which, again, the web was very proto. It was very basic back then, so finding news stories and stuff, you didn't get buried in crap like you do these days. Come on. Nice miss, but I'll catch it anyway. Anyway, so it was a lot easier to find clear information if it was available. And so my job was partially to do that as well. Pass that information on to the agents. Those were actually lower level agents that had to go out into the field and collect this information from people, because you had to be trained. Look, anytime you deal with domestic things, it doesn't matter what it is. If you're a social worker and you're the one that does, domestic children abuse and stuff, it's one of the most dangerous things. Talk to cops, man. They'll tell you that the most dangerous calls for them are the seemingly simple and innocuous encounters at people's homes, domestic issues, because those can explode so quickly. They end up with so many people being injured and killed and all sorts. It's horrible. And so when you're there as a representative of the U.S. government and you are actually, deputized as an agent, and you're knocking on their door and you're demanding this information that's 12 pages long, you can imagine sometimes you run into some issues. So I would be able to point out some trouble spots, possibly, if the person looked like they were going to be a pain in the ass or they had a criminal record or something like that. And that was, kind of what I did as well. Okay. Now, where did that go? Ooh, okay. So part of my job was also to discipline and take care of the customer support people. Because, oh my God. See, because when people would call in, or we would call them, we had their telephone number, their address, all sorts of stuff about them already. We had their address, okay? So what some of these agents would do if they got pissed enough at these people that would call us, they would threaten them. They'd be like, look, dude, I know you live at 123 Any Day Street. And I know your phone number, bro. I know where you live. Right? Again, a shocking number of people did that to people that called in, and they were just like, you know, the difficult ones that didn't want to like deal with it. These people would threaten them. They're like, I'm gonna come to your house, bro. It's like, so I had to go, and I mean, if it was a direct threat, we had zero tolerance for that. If it was someone just kind of like being a dick, right? If someone didn't want to answer the questions and the telephone support person was like, well, fuck you then, right? That was like, you got one. Everybody gets one, right? You got one of those chances to not do that again, okay? But like the ones that did the threatening, oh my gosh, we brought a lot of people up on charges for actual legitimate threats. So, how'd that all go? At the time, one of the people that I was monitoring was the guy that was. I'm not going to give very many details because the statute of limitations and all this stuff is over. So who cares? But I'm still not going to give details. One of the guys that worked under me, or was one of the the telephone support agents. Huge guy, huge. He was like 350 pounds. And he was from the inner city, and I got to know him on and off during work and during breaks and stuff. He was a really, really nice guy, like just amazingly charismatic. He was so smooth on the phones with people, man. He got people to give up information I wouldn't give to people. It was amazing. He was one of the best employees we had, and he's like, hey, dude, you want to do something after work? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I guess, go have a beer or something. We go out into the parking lot. He has, oh man, it was a Jaguar convertible. Like, and this thing, oh my gosh, this was one of the nicest cars I'd ever been in my life, and that's really saying something. Because I'll maybe tell a story about all the automotive stuff that has happened in my life, but, this was a really impressive car. It had to cost, back then, it had to cost like a couple hundred thousand, right? Anyway, so we went out, and I found out this guy was the son of one of the biggest drug dealers in this major city. And so the thing that we were going to do after work was go and get some drops. So go pick up some money from some houses. So we would go just ripping through these inner city streets, just like narrow, like one car across with cars parked on either side, and he's going like 80, 90 miles an hour through the neighborhoods, going like jumping over intersections and stuff. This guy didn't give a shit about what he did to that car. And people, everywhere we went, it was like, hey dude, what's up? Oh geez, what's going on, bro? And then they would look at me. I was this like, this 160 pound, like skinny little white guy going around looking like the sidekick for fucking inner city Batman, Anyway, so that's just one of the weird things that happened to me during that thing. Anyway, so yeah, I was a legitimate government agent one part in my life. The contract was over. I guess deputization is what you would call it. My contract with the government was up at a certain point, and that went very well. Oh no, dude, that's a good shot. But he got me with the thing. Anyway, so let me finish this up at home. No, stop it! Return to home. Return. Okay. So yeah, totally legitimate government agent. My contract ran out, had no problems. I was commended by the government for doing such an exceptional job. I just saluted and smacked myself in the head. Anyway, so yeah, that was it. Your old pal Orpheus at one point, a legit government agent during the Census program, making sure there was no bullshit going through and making sure everything was done smoothly and as legally as possible. So how do you have you done the census yet? There was one probably that and some of you have gone through, maybe 2 or even 3, maybe more than that. Let me know in the comments. Do you dig that? Have you gotten the long form? How much does that suck? And did you know that they can come to your house if you don't answer it? Anyway, we'll see you next time here on Orpheus Plays. Be good, do good, and treat yourself well because you deserve it. We'll see you next time. Bye!